Imagine waking up, gearing up for battle, dodging all these unpredictable obstacles, and really just fighting to maintain your baseline survival. And all of this before you've even had your first cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah. The classic morning routine.
Right. And as someone who genuinely loves to learn, you're probably consuming this massive amount of incredibly complex information every single day just to try and make sense of the world.
I mean, we all do it. We build these towering intellectual structures. We read these super dense articles.
Exactly. We listen to high-level analysis, all to capture like the modern human experience. But today, we are taking a deep dive into something beautifully, refreshingly simple.
Yeah, it's simple on the surface, but it's actually surprisingly profound when you really look at the mechanics of it.
Totally. Because our source material today is not some peer-reviewed academic journal or a massive textbook. It's actually a transcript from a YouTube channel called Speak English with Class.
Right. And specifically, we're looking at a lesson designed for English language learners at like the A2 to B1 level.
Yeah, it features this conversation between two people. There's Anna, who is a final year college student, and Jake, who's a full-time office worker.
And just to be clear, our mission today is not to learn basic English grammar. I mean, if you're listening to this, you've obviously already got the language down.
Yeah, we're skipping the grammar lesson. What we are going to do is explore how this straightforward, highly functional educational tool, well, it perfectly distills this universal, shared human experience of the modern workday.
It really does. Anna and Jake talk about their daily routines, kind of blending student life and office life into what they actually call a daily life sandwich.
A daily life sandwich. I love that. And honestly, it is one of the most accurate depictions of modern existence I've seen recently. So, okay, let's unpack this because it is wild how a conversation designed just to teach basic vocabulary holds so much relatable truth about how we all just, get through the day.
Well, think about where the real challenge of the day actually begins for most people. It's not the work itself, right? The source establishes this immediately by focusing on the physical and, frankly, mental toll of just getting to the building.
Oh man, the morning gauntlet.
Yeah.
We get Jake's perspective first, right? He talks about having a, quote, full inbox before coffee.
Which is just a nightmare.
Pure nightmare. And then he details this 35-minute commute. It involves a short walk to the station, then 2 different metro lines, and then another 5-minute walk to the office.
2 metro lines.
Yeah.
Before coffee.
Right. And he literally describes this experience as survival during rush hour.
And, that word survival, it carries a lot of psychological weight. He mentions having no space to breathe. You're crammed into this metal tube with strangers. You're hyper-vigilant.
Monitoring your personal space.
Exactly. Tracking the stops. The brain is processing an immense amount of sensory data just to physically transport the body. And then Anna chimes in with her own version of this.
Yeah, she takes the bus to college, right?
Yeah, and she talks about standing the whole time, carrying this heavy backpack, and trying to use that time to quietly review notes or, just staring out the window to daydream.
It reminds me of, those video games where before you can actually start the main quest, you have to get through this mandatory, unskippable survival mode level.
Oh, absolutely.
You're just dodging hazards, your stamina bar is draining, you are carrying way too much inventory, like Anna's heavy backpack, and you're just trying to make it to the checkpoint. That is the modern commute.
That's a perfect way to put it. You haven't even started your actual day, and you're already fighting for survival.
Right.
And what's clever about starting the lesson there is that from an educational psychology perspective, establishing this shared, exhausting struggle right out of the gate, it builds immediate empathy.
Oh, like they're validating the learner's own morning exhaustion.
Exactly. They're essentially saying, we know it's hard just to arrive.
Yeah, and Anna actually has this brilliant quote in the transcript. She says, "Some mornings are superhero and some mornings are just surviving."
Which is so true. It gives you permission to not be this hyper-productive optimization machine every single day. And the parallels the lesson draws between the student and the worker are really sharp.
Oh yeah, like when Anna compares getting a surprise quiz to Jake getting an urgent office email.
Different environments, but the exact same biological stress response.
Yeah, so you survive that morning gauntlet. Your adrenaline is just pumping from the commute. But the moment you walk through the office or the classroom doors, that survival energy has nowhere to go.
Nowhere at all.
Because now you're facing a completely different kind of threat. What Jake beautifully calls the email mountain.
The email mountain.
Right.
Yeah, the sheer volume of unstructured expectations just waiting for you. And this really brings us to the battle for focus. Anna mentions she intentionally sits at the front of her classes.
Right. because as she sits at the back, she gets distracted.
Yeah, her mind starts wandering to lunch, or her phone, or her future, or getting a pop song stuck in her head. And in the office, Jake fights the exact same battle against chat notifications and people walking around.
Wait, I actually want to challenge the idea that distraction is inherently bad here.
Oh, how so?
Well, the source, and I mean, society in general always frames a wandering mind as a failure of focus, right?
Usually.
But if you are staring down an endless email mountain or sitting through some monotonous lecture, isn't daydreaming about your future or like getting a song stuck in your head actually the brain's natural defense mechanism?
A defense mechanism.
Yeah, it acts like a psychological pressure valve. Your brain is essentially going rogue. It's starved for stimulation in this really rigid environment, so it just generates its own internal entertainment just to maintain a baseline of mental well-being.
Huh. Okay, I see where you're going with the pressure valve idea, but let's look at the cognitive cost of that defense mechanism.
Okay, lay it on me.
Daydreaming might save you from momentary boredom, but the task switching required to snap back to that email mountain actually drains more energy in the long run.
Oh, really?
Yeah, every time your brain switches from the song stuck in your head back to the spreadsheet, it leaves behind what psychologists call attention residue.
Attention residue.
Right. A little piece of your focus is still thinking about the song, which makes the actual work feel twice as hard.
Okay, wow, that makes sense. So the distraction feels good in the moment, but it's actually digging the hole deeper when you have to re-engage with the work.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is how the source equates these different environments when it comes to the physical reality of being present and visible.
Like the office meetings and college group projects.
Yeah. Both Jake and Anna describe the intense physical nervousness that comes before having to speak up. Anna mentions her stomach feeling tight. Jake talks about his heart beating faster.
It's that primal fight-or-flight response. Your body literally doesn't know the difference between presenting a quarterly report to a manager, pitching a slide deck to a professor, or like running from a predator.
Nope. The physiological reaction is identical. And the lesson intentionally reminds the learner that this feeling is completely normal.
Which is so important.
It normalizes the physical discomfort of professional and academic visibility, which is crucial for someone trying to learn a new language and navigate a new culture simultaneously.
Right. Which makes the escape from that visibility so crucial. Eventually, the tension breaks. The source describes lunch as a, quote, small holiday in the middle of the day.
I love that phrasing.
There is something so profoundly relatable about it. It is a holiday. You pack your bags, you leave your desk, and you travel to the cafeteria, just getting away from the emails and the surprise quizzes.
And they contrast a couple of different lunch experiences, too. There's the quick stress sandwich that you eat hunched over your keyboard when you're overwhelmed.
We've all been there.
Oh, yeah. Versus actually bringing a healthy lunch from home or going to the cafeteria. But the crucial element they focus on isn't the nutritional value of the food, it's the human connection.
Right, the cafeteria talk.
Yeah.
Chatting with colleagues or classmates about movies, weekend plans, or just silly things that make them laugh.
And the text notes that just a few kind words can change the whole mood of the day. It's a neurological palate cleanser.
Neurological palate cleanser. I like that.
Yeah, when you step away and talk about a movie for 5 minutes, it drops your cortisol levels, your stress hormones just enough so you regain the mental elasticity needed to face the rest of the day.
Wow.
These informal micro-interactions are the actual mechanism that prevents burnout. It's not the structured meetings that sustain us. It's the unstructured laughing over a container of leftover rice.
Yeah, and you desperately need that drop in cortisol because the moment that small holiday ends, you hit the wall, the afternoon slump.
Oh, the afternoon slump. The biological reality of digestion crashing headfirst into the artificial demands of the modern clock.
Jake has this line that sums it up perfectly. He says, sleepy body, busy calendar. Wait, sleepy body, busy calendar, dangerous mix.
That is the perfect articulation of circadian misalignment.
Circadian misalignment.
Yeah. Your body, having just consumed that lunch, naturally redirects blood flow to the digestive system. Evolutionarily, it wants to rest.
Right.
But the calendar doesn't care about biology. The calendar demands high-level executive function, decision-making, and collaboration right when your body is entering a refractory period.
And the collaboration they describe during this slump is so incredibly real. Anna talks about afternoon group projects in the library. She says sometimes they're organized, but other times they just sit there talking and joking for an hour and then realize they did absolutely nothing.
And Jake immediately compares that to office meetings. The illusion of productivity versus actual output.
Yep.
You are physically in the conference room, the calendar says you are working, but the biological reality is that the brain is largely offline.
And hovering over all of this afternoon chaos is the looming pressure of expectations. The source brings up this paralyzing feeling of being overwhelmed by a massive deadline.
Which is terrifying.
Like a project report, a presentation, an exam. You look at the calendar, you look at the clock, and the math just doesn't work. There's too much to do and not enough energy to do it.
Because the sheer scale of knowledge work can feel impossible to quantify. I mean, if you are digging a ditch, you can see how much dirt is left to move.
Sure.
But if you are managing a complex project or studying for finals, the boundaries of the work are invisible, which triggers the amygdala, the brain's fear center. That's what creates that paralyzed, overwhelmed state. The prefrontal cortex basically gets flooded.
But the text offers a very practical, almost mechanical solution to this paralysis. It advises taking a breath, writing a small to-do list, and taking it one simple step at a time. Finish one email, then one report, then one slide. So what does this all mean?
Wow.
Actually, think about trying to untangle a massive, knotted ball of yarn. When you first look at this giant knot, your brain just freezes. You can't just grab the whole thing and yank it apart. That only tightens the knot.
Right, you make it worse.
Exactly. You have to find just one loose end, one simple email, one single slide. You pull that one string gently until the tension loosens just a millimeter. Then you find the next string.
That's a great analogy, because by breaking it down into singular, manageable actions, you are essentially giving the brain a solvable mini-task. Completing that one small task provides a tiny hit of dopamine, which re-engages the prefrontal cortex and pulls you out of the amygdala's fear response.
Oh, wow. So it's a chemical reset.
Exactly. And for you listening right now, consider your own afternoon slumps. Think about the times you stare at your own schedule and feel that exact paralysis. The comforting message embedded in this simple language lesson is that if you feel overwhelmed, your brain is functioning exactly as it should under that kind of unnatural pressure.
Wow.
As the source says, every little step still counts.
That's so good. And if we step back from the chronological timeline of the day, the commute, the lunch break, the afternoon slump, we could look at the actual framework of the lesson itself, the linguistic architecture of how they teach this.
Because at its core, this is a tool designed to teach specific vocabulary. They isolate exactly 8 B1 level English words for the student to master.
8 words to summarize modern working life. Let me read them here. Commute, rush hour, colleagues, deadline, distracted, overwhelmed, cafeteria, exhausted.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it is fascinating to analyze this specific list. We shouldn't look at this just as a random assortment of flashcards. These 8 words essentially map out the structural pillars of modern adulthood.
Wait, how do they map it out?
Well, look at the sequence and the categories they fall into. They map a complete physical and emotional arc. It begins with physical displacement, the commute, and the rush hour. The forced movement from a personal sanctuary into a shared, chaotic space.
Okay, I see that.
Then the vocabulary shifts into your social environment, navigating colleagues and seeking refuge in the cafeteria.
So you have the physical movement, then the social landscape.
Right. And from there, it transitions into the internal mental toll of the work itself, managing a deadline, fighting being distracted, and inevitably feeling overwhelmed. And what is the final word on the list? The physical result of this entire process: exhausted.
Physical displacement, social navigation, internal mental toll, physical result. Wow. It really is the complete arc of a Tuesday.
It is. And the underlying philosophy the source promotes alongside these words is incredibly freeing. Jake says, simple and honest is enough. You don't need perfect grammar.
Simple and honest is enough. I feel like that applies to way more than speaking a second language.
It's a functional philosophy for getting through the day. You don't need to perform perfectly in every meeting. You don't need to be a superhero every morning. Sometimes simple and honest participation is all that is required to move the needle forward.
Yeah, and there's a line in here about the transition of actually leaving work or school that really captures it. And it says, close laptop, open outside world.
Oh, the physical relief of that moment is universal.
Right, that snap of the screen shutting. And on the way home, they say they feel a mix of 2 things: exhausted and proud.
Exhausted because the brain's cognitive resources are genuinely depleted. But as Anna notes, it's in a good way. Like, okay, we did enough today. And proud because despite the distractions and the overwhelming deadlines, they navigated the gauntlet.
Yeah.
It is entirely possible to hold both of those feelings simultaneously.
Absolutely. So we strip away all the complex research, the high-level corporate jargon, the endless academic theorizing about productivity, and what are we left with? A B1 English lesson that serves as a perfect mirror of our daily lives.
Yeah, pretty much.
It reminds us that not every day is a meticulously optimized routine. Sometimes you're just existing, trying to survive the metro lines before you've had your coffee. Simple progress is enough. It's completely normal to arrive home feeling that complex mix of exhausted and proud.
Which is a very grounding takeaway for anyone dealing with information overload.
But here's where it gets really interesting, though, because this entire deep dive has been about the words we use to describe our days. The source gives English learners these very specific words like distracted, overwhelmed, and exhausted to frame their daily experiences. It gives them the structural vocabulary to articulate the struggle.
It provides the cognitive mapping for their daily routine.
Right. But it raises a massive question about how our brains actually construct reality. Do the words we use merely describe our day, or do they actively shape how we experience it?
Oh, that's a good question.
We've talked about these 8 pillars of adulthood. But what if we consciously chose different vocabulary to summarize our daily routines to ourselves?
You're touching on the concept of linguistic relativity, the idea that the structure and vocabulary of a language directly affect its speaker's worldview or cognition.
Exactly. Like if you constantly narrate your day using the word overwhelmed every time you look at your inbox, your brain triggers that amygdala fear response we talked about earlier. But what if we stopped saying, I am overwhelmed by this deadline, and instead consciously used different, perhaps more triumphant or even just neutral vocabulary? Would we actually change our biological reaction to our own lives?
That's fascinating.
If you narrate your day differently in your own head, does the heavy backpack actually feel a little lighter? It is something to seriously mull over. So tomorrow, when you are standing in the middle of your own mandatory survival mode video game level, whether you're squished on a bus, sitting in traffic, or just staring up at the sheer vertical drop of your own email mountain, pay attention to the words you are using to build your reality.
Such a great point.
Are you just surviving, or are you a superhero? Maybe simply asking the question is enough to loosen the first string on that massive ball of yarn.